This is the Inventor Capital Mining Update. I'm so pleased to have Cherie Leeden with us. She's with Gold Bull Resources, and they're on the TSXV at GBRC and over the counter at GBRCF. She's at Beaver Creek right now at a conference with many mining companies, but her own firm has just released a scoping study, which is important. And why don't you tell us what this means, because it does suggest a meaningful, let's say, development for the companies. It's not just predictable. It suggests something's going to happen.
Yeah, for the first time, we've got some economics and some numbers to share with our investors regarding Sandman. We've always believed that Sandman represents a near-term production scenario, and now we've, I guess, got that proof to back those statements up. It's got an amazing IRR of almost 100%, an NPV of almost 80 million, and that's only looking at half of our resource, basically the at-surface half, which is above the water table. And we purposely only looked at the resource above the water table because in Nevada, that equates to much faster permitting timeframes. Typically, you can permit under what's called an EA versus an EIS if it's above the water table. So we just went with the route that we thought we could generate the fastest cash flow, essentially, in this model.
And why is this not going for sale to a developer or producer? So do you want to clarify the situation with that opportunity or potential?
So at the moment, we have a 500,000 ounce resource. And, this scoping study looked at 250,000 ounces of that, circa 500,000 ounce resource. And we looked at a scoping study that extracted 35,000 ounces per annum. So that's a pretty small scale mine, in the scheme of things. And most majors aren't going to be interested in 35,000 ounces per annum. But for us, we feel that generates the opportunity of having a real cash cow. And the scoping studies highlighted a 1-year payback period. So after 1 year, you pay the circa $30 million capex back, and then it's spitting out a $30 million per annum. And that is pre-tax, but still, $30 million is a lot of money to do some damage with exploration. And myself and my peers all come from majors. We're not interested in 35,000 ounces per annum as the end game, but we certainly feel it's got the potential, especially in this market, to essentially self-fund additional exploration, looking for world-class deposits without diluting our shareholder base.
Yeah, and I'll note too that there's the calculated payback period is just 1.1 years, which is nothing, so short. And often I wonder why this good news hasn't really generated the boost you might have expected. So it does seem like this is good news falling on deaf ears, and not on I don't have deaf ears for it, of course, and nor do our listeners. But do you have a sense for? I mean, that's just a buying opportunity, of course, for when this might turn around, or what there might be a catalyst for that for a change there.
I mean, in my biased opinion, this is a screaming buying opportunity because we've got a market cap of about 7 million Canadian, NPV of 77 million US. So there's just such a disconnect there. And we're in a mining-friendly jurisdiction. We've already done our baseline studies. We know there's no sacred site or no environmental issue. Because all those surveys have been done, you might spend millions of dollars on those baseline studies. So I think it's a really low-risk project with respect to a development scenario. In my heart, I believe this will be developed. So it's more of a question of, as a board, do we decide to go with this small-scale production route, or do we decide to keep adding ounces and wait until we're at 50,000 or 100,000 ounces per annum scenario? And in a good gold market, I'd say we wait. But in the current market, where gold is struggling to get back over 1,800 despite rising inflation, I think, who knows, like gold already should be at $2,500 and it's not. So we can't control the market. That's why I think we can control our own destiny by looking at a small scale production scenario. So then it matters less when gold does rally and recover, because then we'll just be spitting out our own money. And I don't think that matters if the gold market is a positive or negative. Like that's still a positive case when a company is cash flow positive.
Sure. And assuming you do go ahead with the smaller scale project, you've got a feasibility study next. Do you want to clarify what the next steps are in the process before you actually get doing it?
Yeah, sure. So we'll have that discussion at the board, and this announcement went out yesterday. So we haven't discussed what the next step is at a board level. So first we have to decide do we go to feasibility study and do we make this mine happen based on the 35,000 ounces per annum? Do we try and jiggle with the numbers and make that, 40 or 50,000 ounces per annum? Or do we continue to get to 1 million ounces or whatever that is to get to closer to 100,000 ounces per annum? So we haven't had that board meeting yet, and that decision will be made probably in the next couple of weeks. However, at the moment, the next step, if we were to go to production, would be a feasibility study. Based on our current data, that would take about 1 year of additional studies and work to collate. And then at that decision, after that feasibility study, would be at decision to mine.
Do you have are you able to share when we might know whether you'll proceed with the feasibility study?
I'd say around November. We're still finalising our PEA, so we've got this preliminary economic assessment, which will be lodged with CEDA, which backs up our scoping study, and that's quite an intensive technical document. So our engineer is still working on finalising that document. These numbers aren't going to change. We've confirmed all these parameters, but there's a lot more text that goes into that document. So we'll have our board meeting after that document's completed, and under TSX and CEDA, we've got 45 days from now to complete that document. And upon completion, our board will get together and decide what's in the best interest of our shareholders, essentially.
Right. Okay, folks, we've been speaking with Cherie Leeden of Gold Bull Resources. That's on the TSXV at GBRC, over the counter, GBRCF. Cherie, thanks so much for your time.
Cheers, Berg. Thank you.